Welcome to section 3.2, choosing a legal entity structure. This is foundational. This step impacts taxes, personal liability, compliance obligations, and your ability to raise money. Before we dive in, let's be clear. This content is for informational purposes only. It's a general overview. This is not legal or tax advice. You have to consult with a qualified CPA or attorney before making decisions about your entity structure. That said, understanding your options helps you have a smarter conversation with those professionals. You can feel a lot more confident when you understand terms like S-Corp or pass-through taxation, especially when they come up in those conversations with those professionals. So choosing the right structure is about balance. Balancing simplicity, protection, cost, and flexibility. So let's begin with a quick review of the most common entity types that you'll encounter. First up is the sole proprietorship. This is the default structure when one person's starting a business, they're not filing any formal paperwork, it's easy, it's inexpensive to set up. Basically, it ends up being a Schedule C anyway for your tax return on your personal. There's no taxes of the sole proprietorship as a business. It's not a separate entity from you. It's basically you're out there doing business as. And because it's so easy to set up, it's very attractive for people. I'm just going to go start my business. And sometimes it's viable to do it this way. You have a hobby and you want to turn it into a legitimate Schedule C filing situation. It's a great way to start. However, keep in mind, it has no liability protection. In other words, someone could sue. If they sue your business and you're a sole proprietorship, then all your personal assets are at risk. Now, partnerships happen when two or more people come together to do business. And you can have an informal partnership. Then you can also have a more structured one that's a limited partnership or a limited liability partnership. This is where you need to meet with that CPA or tax attorney to determine what's best for you, because they have tax implications and they also have different levels of liability risk. Then, of course, there's the LLC. Everyone knows what an LLC is just about if you've been around business. The limited liability company. It's popular because it's flexible in both the way that it can be structured and the tax filing possibilities. You could have an LLC, but you're just filing as a sole proprietorship. It's doing the 1040 thing. You can set them up as partnerships. You can set them up as S-Corps later on if it benefits you, depending on how much money you're making. So what is an S-Corp? It's a special tax election that allows a business income to pass through to its owners. So it has the benefits of a corporation, a lot more protection lined up. There are limitations on how many shareholders you can have and the type of funding you can raise if you wanted to do public shares. The strict eligibility requirements are in place, and there are certain payroll obligations, the way you are being paid as not only the owner, but you as the owner are an employee of that S-Corp. So the structure there has a lot of tax benefits, but you got to meet with a professional to see if it's a great fit for you. Now, the C-Corp, this is the typical corporation. This is used by larger businesses, and especially those that are planning to raise some serious capital through investors. They involve more regulatory formalities and double taxation. And this can be okay in the right context, but for a lot of small businesses starting up, the C-Corp is not usually the way to go, but you need to consult with someone. Ultimately, each structure has its pros and cons, and that works for one business, and what works for one business may not work for another. Again, get the professional guidance. I know I keep saying this, but amazing how many people don't listen to me, especially when it comes to taxes and ownership splits. If you got partnerships, you got to be meeting with a professional in this. So how do you choose? Here are some critical questions to think through. Do you need liability protection? If your business could be sued, or if you have personal assets to protect, forming an LLC or corporation can separate business and personal risk. Are you flying solo? Or do you have partners or investors? This can affect whether you need an LLC, a partnership agreement, or corporate structure with shares. And do you plan to raise capital? Venture capitalists out there that are going to give seed money to startups, they typically prefer a C-Corp. On the other hand, if you're a bootstrap business that's just starting out, you might do okay sticking with an LLC. But what is your long-term vision? If you plan to stay small and simple, well, sole proprietorship may work if you don't have too much exposure. Or a single member LLC might suffice if you need a little extra protection. But if you envision scaling, mass hiring, even exiting at some point, you may want to start with more structure. What are your tax priorities? Some business owners want to minimize self-employment tax, while others want simplicity. This is where that business advisor / CPA / tax attorney help with model the options based on your income expectations. And also ask, what does your state require? Now, some states have annual fees and reporting requirements that might make certain entities more expensive to maintain. So it's not just about starting, it's about staying compliant and protected over time. Finally, remember you can change your entity later, but it's not always easy, and neither is it always cheap. So it's worth getting it right the first time if possible. Choosing your legal entity is one of the most serious decisions you'll make as a business owner. It impacts your taxes, your risk, and how others view your business. You don't need to become an expert because those already exist, but you do need to be informed. So use what you've learned here to guide your conversations with a licensed professional, and you'll be much better prepared to make a confident, informed choice.